Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak and the whole of this Conservative government haven't really had to deal with many rebellions, if any. There's essentially that all Conservative MPs have essentially toed the line on all of the issues, even things like the controversial police crackdown bills that are effectively criminalising certain forms of peaceful protest if they're deemed to be annoying or even at risk of causing annoyance. So there's been a lot of very, very dodgy bills. There's also been the Spy Cops bill allowing agents of the state to essentially commit horrific crimes like sexual abuse, sexual assault, and torture, and things like that when they're undercover, with no possible ramifications, so there's been a lot, but the Conservative MPs, they've been okay with all of it, and, this enormous majority has meant that Boris Johnson's been able to get all that through. But there may be the first proper Conservative rebellion of this government that Boris Johnson's going to have to face. And it certainly doesn't come from a place that you might expect. So there's at least 30 Conservative MPs now, it's rumoured, that will, or it's not even rumoured, they've actually, kind of come out in favour of these kind of things, including Theresa May, former Prime Minister, remember her? Ridiculous, it actually seems like ages ago, but she was only Prime Minister a couple of years ago. It's bizarre to think, but yes, so basically, the government at the moment is planning on keeping foreign aid below what it was. So essentially it was 0.7% of national income, and ministers reduced it to 0.5% this year, which is a cut of almost £4 billion, right? So that's a lot of money, that's no longer going to some of the most deprived areas in the world, people who are suffering from all kinds of things, absolute poverty, total homelessness, a lack of basic necessities like clean drinking water and enough food and clothes and shelter, things like toilets, all really basic stuff, and of course medical care and all these things. So that's a lot of money for that kind of initiative. And these MPs actually want to increase it back to 0.7% in 2022. And there's going to be a vote on it next week in the House of Commons. Although when this video comes out, it may be this week. Depends on when it comes out. So basically, it's going to happen the same week that the government hosts world leaders at the G7 summit. So that's going to be quite a big statement, and it will undermine Boris Johnson and the rest of this government significantly if it succeeds. Do I think it'll succeed? No, I don't, because I think, honestly, Labour is very sheepish in this regard. They're sheepish in every regard. They don't really, under the leadership of Keir Starmer and all those on the Labour right, they have no idea what they stand for. And it's like every time a progressive policy gets proposed, they kind of back away from it, almost every time. I mean, the votes at 16 is the only substantial one I can think of recently that they've really committed to. So this is very interesting because there's an article that I saw a headline of earlier from The Telegraph, just as I was doing research for this. I didn't read it because The Telegraph's not a very reliable source, but saying that they are out of touch with the Red Wall, these MPs. The Red Wall, of course, being those traditional Labour heartlands in the north of England. I live in a Red Wall seat at home. I'm at university, and where I am in university, that's also a Labour seat, if I remember rightly. But a lot of places where my friends and family live are Red Wall seats, or were, but now have voted Conservative for the first time in a very, very long time. We're talking many decades. So it's a big point of contention. How do you win back the Red Wall seats that you lost? How do you maintain and build upon those majorities that you already have in some of those Red Wall seats for Labour? And the Conservatives obviously want to expand that. They want to, build from those gains that they made in 2019. And according to the person who wrote that that article, according to the Telegraph, the way to win back the red wall is by cutting foreign aid. Now, this kind of highlights some really strange paradoxes in British politics. And this extends to basically every democratic nation on earth. Literally, you can find this conversation anywhere, not even in every democracy. If you can actually have a conversation about politics anywhere, usually people will kind of view helping people in your own country and in other countries as two mutually exclusive things. They can't connect. You can do one or the other, right? And 99% of people who live in a country will say, well, I want it to help my country because I want me and my family and my friends and my neighbours and my colleagues and whatnot. I want us to benefit. It is our country after all. It's our tax money, etc. But they're not. They're absolutely not. This is the kind of divide and conquer thing that we see from newspapers that are owned by billionaires. This is what we see from political parties that get all their donations from the super rich and from, the financial sector and things like that. So that's kind of what the Conservative Party is, right? And so of course they're going to generally, the vast majority of Conservative MPs aren't supportive at all of raising back that foreign aid budget. And, fair enough to Theresa May and these other MPs who are supporting this. Because, let's be honest, the UK has done so much damage to other countries in the world, specifically countries in Africa and in the Indian subcontinent. We extracted just about every ounce of wealth we possibly could through their natural resources and through, the exploitation of their people, sometimes through slavery, sometimes through essentially wage slavery. And, I think, the least we can do is have this measly foreign aid budget that is 0.7% of national income, and we use it to help out and, maybe improve people's quality of life somewhat. It's really the bare minimum, and people are now. Most people are, well, it should be lower. Well, why should it be lower? Is the question I ask, because people always use that argument, don't they? That that we should reduce the foreign aid budget, so then we can, instead of housing homeless people in Bangladesh, we should house homeless people in, Suffolk or whatever, But really, we can do both. And the reason that you don't get, newspapers owned by billionaires or Conservative politicians saying, oh, no, yeah, we can do both. We can put a lot more money into infrastructure programs, a jobs guarantee, anti-homelessness legislation, stuff like that. And we can increase the foreign aid budget a little bit. The reason that no one's saying that is because, oh, well, then you're not cutting anything from one particular government initiative or policy and then reallocating it somewhere else. You have to increase the budget for both, right? And where does that money come from? It comes from taxation. And where does the tax burden end up falling? Ends up falling on the ultra wealthy, on those, those very, very powerful and influential business interests that don't want these kind of things to pass, even if it means, we have massively high food bank usage in this country. Our infrastructure continues to decline and fall behind even places in some developed countries. Some places in China, have far superior infrastructure to us. So, it really doesn't matter to them. And of course, it doesn't matter what's going on in other countries. So it's bizarre that, we have some Conservative politicians here like Theresa May. Theresa May, big fan of austerity, very supportive of it, but she wants to have a decent foreign aid budget. And then we have most other Conservative politicians right now, and most of the right-wing press, like, the Telegraph and the Mail and all that, who are saying, no, we need to cut the foreign aid budget. And some of them are, including Rishi Sunak, are arguing that we need to be spending a little bit more here and there on infrastructure and a little bit more here and there on public services in the UK. But the fact of the matter is, we don't spend enough on either. We need to improve both. And we can do that, and we should do that. It's really not it's really not one of those situations where oh, well, we can only do one or the other. They are not mutually exclusive. So try and resist. In the coming days, we'll probably have an increased debate about foreign aid, right? And I'm sure the BBC will get, someone from Labour on who won't say anything for the whole half hour, and then a Conservative politician, and then probably someone from The Sun or the Daily Mail or some garbage like that. And the debate will just end up devolving into, oh, well, we have problems here and maybe we should spend money. Yes, we should. We have absolutely enormous levels of wealth inequality in this country. You know who's creating most of that wealth? Working people, regular people. So how about we implement workplace democracy and employee ownership? So essentially, workers get paid much fairer wages and they govern their own livelihoods. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Then we can, through taxation, fund more, we can increase that on the wealthiest people who've benefited tremendously from the pandemic, on these huge corporations that don't pay their taxes. And then we say that money is going to go towards, again, infrastructure programs, jobs programs, improving the quality of the NHS, education, reducing class sizes, improving social care. We need a proper plan for social care, better anti-crime initiatives, more funding for the fire service. There's so many things that we need to do. We don't have to choose between one or the other. You can support multiple policies at the same time and fight against multiple forms of injustice at the same time. So don't fall for that sort of divide and conquer tactic, because ultimately it distracts from the main thing, and that is that this is a very wealthy country. There's a lot of money here. There's a lot of money in the world. Most of it's being created by the majority of the people, by working people. And at the end of the day, it should go to them, and we can use it to build a better national society and international society. We just have to be willing to spend money and make the ultra-wealthy pay a little bit more. That's what it is. And of course, put ownership into the hands of working class people, of regular people, rather than allowing a handful of executives to control the livelihoods of thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. Just a thought. Thank you all very much for watching. And yeah, let's follow this story closely, because I think this will be another one of those ones where, deliberately or not, the mainstream media kind of parrots these kind of slightly far-right and ridiculous notions that we can't help other countries out. We have to focus only on ourselves, when right now we're not even focusing on ourselves. We should do both. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, if you liked it, then why not translate that into a digital form and click the like button? Or, even better, if you're feeling extra wild, subscribe and click the bell.